sure. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah. Just switch.
It's wonderful to feel that this solitude that I didn't necessarily choose at times, is benefiting people now, because I've had the space to really find out about me and how I think about things, and distill things down. So it's big for me being in the lights, doing this. I would usually be, away on my own in the middle of nature somewhere, Oh, totally, yeah. I mean, we have this lamp here, and as soon as I saw that lamp, I said, oh, that reminds me of a concept, of a hermit with a stick in the dark with a lamp, and, I've been that hermit for years. The solitude has really challenged me and influenced me in my life, so...
Alison, what kind of issues do your clients regularly bring to therapy?
Feeling isolated, anxiety, negative self-talk, relationship problems, maybe feeling a bit lost and lack of purpose or direction, addiction, particularly around phones. When I say addictions, maybe not with a capital A, but just knowing that it's causing them some discomfort and pain in their lives, their use of devices and things. Anger, men can come with anger, and women do come with anger as well, but maybe not so aware of it. Yeah, I'd say anxiety is the number one. In the agency I'm working in Limerick with the young people that come to me, anxiety is the number one thing. Yeah. And then, say, in my private practice with older people, anxiety still is a big one. Life transition stages, especially if a relationship is breaking up, or, children at a certain age, or, life transition stages is another one. Yeah. Yeah.
Could I ask you more about the differences between the anger being expressed in men and women?
As most people probably know, we are encouraged, depending on what sex we are, as to how we can be. And I think women on the whole have been, it's like there's a certain palette of emotions that is okay as a woman to express, and the same with men. And I think that men's palette has been very restricted, whereas women are the ones who, feel the feelings, and men are taught to be stoical and put it away and get on with the practical, so... I would tend to notice that women wouldn't really come with anger issues. Some would. So obviously it's not a sweeping generalisation, but on the whole, the people that come with anger issues are men, and women would have other issues. But I mean, even anger is, could just be on the surface of other feelings, And I suppose if, as men, a lot of men have been conditioned to only maybe be sexual or a provider, or it's okay to be angry. Well, I don't think it's okay. Men hasn't been told it's okay to be angry, but in the past, it's like men are expected to show their anger, to be aggressive, that's been seen as manly, So it seems some men now are finding it really problematic, their anger. And it is problematic for them because it's causing, heartache in their relationships and problems in their relationships and things. So I would be looking at, just really breaking it down, what about the other feelings? Is there any other feelings, So I do find that a lot of men don't even have a language for feelings, for different emotions, So I use just a very simple tool of a feelings wheel with lots of different feelings on it, just to start to introduce, a knowledge of all the different kinds of emotions, all the different shades of them, and the different words that there are. And I feel a lot of compassion for men, particularly these days as well. I think there's been, there's just a lot going on in society. There's so many changes going on, and especially with gender and roles and things. So I'm seeing a lot more men than I used to. I hardly saw any men for the first 5 years. Okay. Now I'd say half are men. So I'm really happy to see men, in my practice.
Same for me. I would have mostly men as clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And was it different before?
I think when I was in Dublin, it was a bit different. But like now, they literally are like looking me up. So at the time I was in the center, so I was assigned people, or they would just ask for somebody who's available at 6 p.m. and it happened to be me.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I think it's now kind of more like almost like that they want to speak to another male person.
Yeah, I feel very compassionate towards men in the subject of emotions and expressing them. That's how the whole men's shed movement started, wasn't it? Good practical male-based way of connecting without actually, sitting right opposite and, just launching into things, just by working alongside. It's a lot gentler and not so obvious, the contact and the connection. Yeah.
Do you find women and men, let's say, in working on anger, like reacting differently to your interventions?
I haven't formulated anything yet. I'm just very much in the moment and with each client that comes. I don't get too many people coming with anger, actually. I'd say anxiety is the number one.
Yeah. And you also mentioned you get people who are a bit lost in their life. How does it look for them when they are lost? Is it about meaning and purpose?
Mostly, I think the underlying thing is they don't have a connection with themselves. They don't know themselves. They feel very disconnected from themselves.
How do your clients react to using mindfulness or meditation in your practice?
If I use it very much naturally in the moment and keep it simple, then it can be very much part of the session and flowing. I do like to introduce it at the beginning of the session if the client's open to that, just as a way of just coming into the present moment and themselves, just so there's a space for focusing and giving attention to yourself. Some clients don't like that. Some clients find silence really, really hard because then this is accentuated. So it very much depends on the client. Everybody has different experiences of it, but generally, on the whole, I think clients are really surprised and happy to experience just a bit of peace, that they can actually be with themselves with nothing else going on, just themselves. I mean, it's well known, I think, I can't remember who, like some philosopher said, like all the problems of the human race distill down into the fact that an individual couldn't sit in a room on their own for 4 days without going insane.
Right.
That's paraphrasing big time, but, we've all got that, we all resist, discomfort in ourselves, but when you've got somebody who's got a background in mindfulness, who has a practice, has some basis energetically in it, then my awareness is supporting the other person to come to themselves, and just even a little bit. It's just bit by bit, seeing what that's like. What comes up when you just sit with yourself. What do you notice? And some people, for very good reasons in their past, have learned to focus on the other person who's supposed to be looking after them, or something like that. So there's been very good reasons for this adjustment in them, where they focus outward all the time and not come back to here, but it's absolutely essential to get our needs met. How can we know what we need if we're not paying attention to ourselves in a good way? A lot of people need support to gently come to themselves in the present moment. And I'd say a lot of the time people do take to it really well. It depends on how I attune to the client and how I offer it. because there's so many different kinds of meditation and mindfulness, so many different kinds of meditation. Some of it can be really complicated and a bit, might put some people off, but the mindfulness that I offer is just very bare minimum, whatever, just break it right down. No interpretation, no visualization of anything in particular, unless there's a certain reason for that. So it's very simple, very, very simple, People would think it's too simple sometimes,
Would they say it?
They'd be surprised, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they wouldn't. I haven't heard people say, "Oh, that's too simple," but I think they've been a bit surprised. Oh, is that mindfulness? They think they've got to relax. They've got to do it. They've got to stop their thoughts. And there's nothing of that. It's like, oh, I realise my mind is really busy right now. It's an open, non-judgmental awareness. This is how it is right here, right now. I'm just noticing this. I'm not trying to change it, so it's back to that paradoxical nature of change, that when we can be as we are, the next whatever emerges from that, because we're wholly here and we're completing that cycle. So there's room, there's, something else can naturally arise. So that's back to the holistic nature of Gestalt again, the understanding of it.
I think it's often the case when people think that meditating or being mindful means literally controlling or stopping your thoughts. I hear it often.
Yeah.
With my clients.
Yeah. So, and even if I say it, I usually have to say it a lot, because we're so conditioned to, I should be like this, I should be relaxed. Yeah. Or my breath, if Gestalt was about paying attention to people's breath as well, because that's very much a support, that we can have or not have. So when I, might ask people, oh, what are you aware of about your breathing right now? And they say, oh, it's fine. Oh, it's normal. Oh, it's okay. As if I say, well, no, I'm not a doctor. How is it? What do you notice? They think they've got to breathe a certain way, And, I can include myself on this as well. We're all conditioned, I think, to step to it, and do what we're told, and we've got to be a certain way, So Gestalt is really about sensing the other person, sensing the effect of the other person in me, on me, and affirming, that how we are is understandable. There's a reason for everything, So many people think they're wrong,
So you've done a course in the Ecotherapy. How does this work in your practice? Or what is it first? How could you describe it?
So we've got a lovely backdrop here. For me, the basis of ecotherapy or having sessions outdoors is that nature is like another presence in the session, and very much more resources for the work, especially with trauma work as well.
How would that come up with trauma work?
So in my experience so far of working with trauma with clients out in nature, when we're traumatized, we can get the trauma can be stuck in a certain compartment in the brain, and it's not processed through the brain. It's just held, it's not finished, that it's still there, that original trauma or the effects of the original trauma. And in my experience, when I'm working with a client, and I work very, very carefully with trauma. I build from encouraging awareness in the person of their physical sensations and what we call the window of tolerance, what we can tolerate and what we can't tolerate. So I work very closely with the client. So bit by bit, I'm finding the resources in a client to actually bear the discomfort or whatever it was, so that it can actually move through them and complete itself. Nature, I've noticed that nature can come in on this when there's an intensity in the work, and I'm there supporting the client, but nature comes in and supports as well. There's been dramatic ways that a client is going into a bit of the trauma, very well held and supported, and they're able to feel, their sensations and contain the trauma, not have the trauma contain them. And so I'm working really closely with them, and it will come to a certain point in the work, and there's just like a moment, And then all of a sudden, we might have some visitation of an animal, a wild animal, or something might happen that will get the client's attention. And then there's what we'd call a new Gestalt. There would be a new experience overlaid on that would help change that original repetitive groove that the client had got into with the unfinished trauma, keep trying to finish.
So they integrate that part.
To help the brain integrate the part.
Their experience that is supportive and...
Yeah. I don't know a hell of a lot about EMDR, but it sounds very similar to EMDR, where it introduces something else that is a support. So you've got something different instead of the original overwhelm. You know, so there was a new thing that was introduced to that part of the brain. Now, I haven't studied trauma formally, so the language that I'm using might not fit some people who've studied it in a certain way.
Sure,
but I have my understanding of it, and I see the results.
What do you find helpful about the element of nature? You said there are visitations from different animals. What else is maybe that the nature kind of... Because I think it's quite a different environment. You know, you either sit in a therapy center somewhere in an office, or you are in nature. It must be quite a difference.
It's a huge difference, and I think it's easier for a lot of clients because there's so much going on. You're actually, you're in life more. It seems like you're in life more when you're outdoors in nature. And the focus isn't completely on the client because we're in, this life that's happening around us all the time and in us, and we're responding to it. And I just think it's our natural state to be outdoors. Yeah. I mean, some people might not be comfortable with it if they're used to being in the city or something, so they might not even be outdoors with me in that case, But people that do want to be outdoors or want to feel more connected to nature, I can definitely facilitate that. I used to do mindfulness in nature courses as well. And that was wonderful. Really enjoyed doing that.
How did people react to the course?
They loved it, absolutely loved it, just to relax and get away from societal man-made pace of things, this instant gratification with push button this and that, and it's like we're so away from natural rhythms of things, so that going out into nature, and I was focusing on the different elements, being near water, and then there was the sun and fire and the earth and the air, and just, it's like we as people and humans, we can control our environment so much, and so that we can feel that we want our needs met now. Like, we click a kettle on, and it's there. But with the natural rhythms, we have to have a bit of patience, and I think we've lost a lot of that. I remember talking to a young fisherman in Norway, a beautiful young man, and just the sense of stillness in him was amazing because he would sit in nature and wait and study, and he had that patience. He could slow down, he could come into, the natural rhythm with the elements around him. So he would sit out in nature a lot. So he'd be studying the animals that he was hunting. He loved the animals that he was hunting as well. And fishing, and you need so much patience for it, and to be in the moment and to really come into your senses, and the sense of stillness and strength and solidity in him, he really struck me as this is what we need to do if we're going to find peace, really, it's like we are nature, so we do need to be more in nature. I do really believe that. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to, one of my dreams is to have a campfire, and to sit with a client round a campfire.
Oh, I see.
That's ancient. And we have that knowing in us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you think of watching telly or watching the screen, something moving. The fire, that was the original,
focal point.
Yeah, it doesn't take from us.
Yeah. How does spirituality fit into your practice?
I think I have a very broad, wide, deep lens that, you know, that I'm open to. If somebody wants to bring something in, you know, from their family line or something, and I'm very aware of more than just what's happening right here, right now. But it all does come into the here and now. I do believe that, you know, like our ancestors, you know, what they've handed down to us is here. It's all in the here and now. The world of spirit, you know, like I was talking about when you have a regular practice, and when you really have a practice of paying attention in the moment, you can start to sense more and more things of a very subtle nature. So just the sense of the unseen. You know, like I could come out with something, I could, you know, all of a sudden these words are coming out of my mouth, and it's not that it's not me, it's just that it's just right for the moment, you know.
And for the person who sits there.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah, for them. Yeah, it's just bang on for them. Oh, funny you should say that. You know, I was thinking about that too. You know, it's almost like I'm psychic, but really, it's a very natural. It's a very natural thing for us when we pay attention, you know, and when we don't have so many distractions. We're not up here all the time, you know. Our senses, we need to come back down into our bodies. There's so much information that we're missing, so much fulfillment as well of our lives, you know, when we're living up here all the time that we miss, you know.
How would it feel for a client if they're missing fulfillment?
Not knowing themselves, caught up in how they should be instead of just how they are, maybe not getting their needs met because they don't know how they are, because they're how I should be. You know, if you're more in your body, and some people, a lot of us can need support to be more in our body. You know, so when you are more in your body and you're able to get some support, feel that support, which a lot of us need support to be able to get that support, then you're just more in touch with yourself, with life, with other people. And I think just one extra bit I want to say on that I've got from Gestalt is having a sense of hope that just because something is hard now doesn't mean to say it's always going to be stuck. You know, it might not be exactly how you want it, but just it's such a gift to be able to trust the flow of life. You know, when we have something stuck in us, you know, and then just that little bit of support can help us just move a little bit around that cycle. And I always use the analogy, I'm a gardener, so I always use the analogy of a plant. You know, say if you've got a pot plant at home and, you know, you went away on holiday or something and oh no, it looks like it's dying, and you're trying to bring it back to life and it isn't, it's just dying, you know, and then after a while, you know, you just be looking at it and checking on it. No, it's dead. And then there seems to be this extra bit where you just forget about it and you leave it there. No, it's completely gone. I've let go of it. It's dead. You know, it's like the real death, you know, completely accepted it's dead. The next time you see it, it's got a little bud on it, you know. So it's really experiencing life more, life and death more. It all contributes to more life.
You integrating spirituality and nature and mindfulness in your practice, but you also doing all these things yourself. You walk the path, right? How does this change you, or how does it affect you on a personal and professional level?
Well, it completely sustains me. When I'm in the midst of challenges, it's something that's always there. I can always go into, I can either sit in my home and process things, you know, sit with something and allow it to move through me and flow and process it and integrate whatever it is, or I can go out into nature with some intent of getting some kind of healing or peace or something like that, or insight. It just helps me move. It helps me move through my life. I feel things very deeply, and so I need deep support. You know, so it really goes with it. You know, it helps me traverse my life, really, and keep growing and keep learning and keep changing as well, transforming myself. Well, it just happens. I don't actively do it, but it just happens. Yeah. And so in my personal life, my relationships are more alive and dynamic because I have trust in that cycle of the life, death, life, nature, when it's allowed to move and flow. You know, this sort of like matrix in life, you know. So in my relationships, I have more courage. I risk more in showing up and being me. And if there's something that isn't quite fitting for me, then I'll endeavour to bring it up with the person and show up more and be honest, you know, instead of just go along doing the same old, you know, looping or whatever, you know, getting the same old reactions or responses, you know, to things, you know. So there's definitely something about when you can risk the death of something. It's innately tied to the life of it, because if I have to say something to somebody who's really close, part of my life, and it's with me, it's coming in between already, it's coming in between someone and me, I'm risking the death of that relationship. It can be, you know, by saying it. So in all the different ways I've learned to say things effectively and cleanly and in a boundaried way, so you're not blaming someone else or pointing the finger. There are ways of saying things, you know, like coming from my heart and aiming for the other person's heart. You know, there's ways of softening that sort of feeling, oh my God, I'm risking the death of this relationship by showing up with my truth, you know. So getting more skilled at communicating, and I learned a lot of that in Gestalt. I'm very grateful to the trainers and everybody, you know. Being able to say those hard things, the other person is usually quite grateful.
Okay.
Because it's real, you know. They could probably sense it anyway, you know. So we're all growing together, you know. And if they can meet me, you know, and we can sort it out, whatever, we're then in an amazing new place in the relationship. There's a new life from it, you know, from risking death. Just like, to me, life and death are just completely one. You know, you can't have death without life, and vice versa, you know. So consequently, a lot of my friendships now, my relationships, I feel I'm getting more fulfillment from them. I'm feeling closer to people. I have more connection to myself, more connection with them, more life. Yeah, because it's like I trust that things can resolve themselves. Not all the time, but more.
There's some wisdom in this. With the life and death cycle, there's something that maybe, as you mentioned, the ancient wisdoms.
Yeah, I think in this society, I think in Ireland, I learnt a lot about death coming to Ireland, just going to Irish funerals, you know, being from the UK, our funerals are very different, you know, some coffin trundling on a track and going behind some little curtains, and you don't see the body, you know, you don't see everybody in the community and shake their hand, you know. It's beautiful going to funerals here and really facing into it every stage of the way, you know. It's really gained a lot from the way the people here, you know, in society, you know, face death, you know, and in the community as well. It's beautiful.
Is there maybe something else that maybe amazed you, or maybe you liked or didn't like about the Irish culture?
Not that I don't like it, but I found it really hard. The difference in communication. So where I'm from, near London, we would be very direct. We'd call a spade and we'd say it, you know. Whereas I've noticed, especially in rural Ireland, that people would go all around the houses, and I'd be trying to work out what people want.
What they're trying to say or convey somehow?
Yeah. And then, you know, when I've been really upfront with people, like I remember being with an American, and we were talking away and we were really debating, and it was a strong contact, you know, and the Irish people in the room thought we were having an argument, you know. And I've noticed that, say, with Eastern Europeans, I can really get energised because we have a similar way of meeting, you know. And here, as in Wales, where I grew up as well, there's more of a softness, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So
not
even
so
the
much
part
in
of
your face.
England, Wales would have that difference as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I suppose there's always, you know, anywhere in the world, there's always the city, country, you know, differences as well. Yeah, country tends to be softer and slower.
As you were speaking about spirituality, do you find in your practice that maybe your Irish clients would have connection to any spiritual ways or spiritual practices, or maybe their pagan or Gaelic heritage?
Not so much. There were some older clients, particularly rural, would still have an awareness and talk about, you know, that there is spirit, that there isn't just this. You know, so I noticed that. And it does seem to be innately connected to the land as well. Mm-hmm. But it would be quite subtle.
Would you work with that from the Gestalt
I'd work with anything coming up in the moment. Yeah, and I'm all ears when it comes to lots of things, but I do have ears for that as well. Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So regarding my own spirituality and how I work, I have a real respect for anybody's beliefs. You don't have to believe the same as me, or you know, have the same experiences or anything. I've always been fascinated by culture and different religions, and faith and spirituality and peak experiences, struggles, existential crises. I've always had an interest in this.
Life and death.
Yeah, like the real building blocks, you know. I'm very open to all walks of culture and beliefs, you know, people coming into the room and whatever they want to talk about. To me, it's like it's all a big, I'd call it a mystery, really. I can't work it all out with this bit of my brain, you know. It's just wonderful piecing things together in my own way for me, making my own meaning, you know. I really respect other people's way of making meaning. And if they don't have any kind of faith or belief in a power greater than themselves, or even the force of good in the world or of human beings, and they want that, then I can help facilitate that for them too. Mm-hmm. Nothing to do with me. Like, you know, find out, you know, it's like we can break it down into, you know, desires and, you know, what brings you alive, you know, what do you love, what opens your heart. You know, there's so many different ways of approaching these subjects. So even if you're not religious or you're spirit, you know, whatever configuration, there's always that urge that a client brings with them, and that's what I work with, wherever the energy is. So I don't have an agenda.
You're working more with the person in front of you, rather than a framework. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Well, so I have my framework, but Gestalt is just perfectly situated to really work with the person in the moment and attune. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's my job to help empower my clients, not to tell them how to think or how to be, or well, this worked for me, so this should work for you. No, it's not a one size fits all. I've got a lot of tools in my bag, and we can see, you know, what through close attention, if we're going in the right direction or not for the client. It's all in service of the client.
And how do you find the cross-cultural differences between multiple clients or you and different clients?
I'm fascinated by it. Yeah, I love working with different nationalities. I mean, I am a different nationality to Irish people here, and I work in Limerick City, where there's a lot of different nationalities as well. And I was thinking about this. Gestalt very much appreciates difference. It's like we can't have contact unless you are two separate people, you know, and we each have a different lens through which we see the world based on our experiences. Mm-hmm. So if I'm sitting with someone from a different country to me, I mean, even if I was sitting with someone from the same country as me, they've still got a different lens, but it's highlighted more if someone's from a different country. And even at lunchtime, You know, we were talking about gardening and growing vegetables, and you couldn't think of the English name for a turnip.
Yes.
And you were saying, "Oh, what's that? What's that big thing? Like a big carrot, overgrown carrot that is in the ground?" Like, you know, I just, it's hilarious. I think it's really entertaining and funny. You know, you have all these guessing games. You know, that's one aspect of it that I really like. You know, I'm just fascinated by different cultures and language, and even like the differences in how people express themselves. And, you know, even if I was with somebody from the UK, you still can't assume that if they use a word that they're meaning it in the same way that you take it to mean. I think Gestalt is really well suited to working cross-culturally. So I just think it's like, I love variety as well, and because of my differentness here, it's not just my experience of being different being in Ireland, where I wasn't born, but there's lots of things about my past and my personality, you know, things I'm interested in that has had me apart. I've been in a minority for so many different things. I'm used to feeling different. Hence, when you asked me about how my course had changed me, that I feel more part of society now, part of the community. You know, so I'm very used to difference. So I think I confirm or affirm that with clients. I'm very open to not assuming and working with people and what it's like for them being here in Ireland as well, you know, from a different culture. Very open to how it is for the client. Yeah.
From my experience, at least some of it, I often find that the person who is the client, but not from Ireland, they often almost neglect the part that they came into a different country and they are starting over and they are building stuff that they would have built in their country for them as the support system, friend system. Are you having similar experience?
Yeah, I can really relate to that myself as well. I think you're just so busy getting on with things that you can forget what people who are still living in their land of origin have, you know. I suppose it's like the different polarities between lots and lots of change or just complete routine and stability. You know, there's too much change and you've got no ground under you, you know. But I suppose we can all get used to different kinds of things, and people can be striving and be caught up in trying to survive. And just maybe you can't afford to think, you know, of how hard it is. You haven't got your family around you, or you don't know your community, or, you know, or you can't afford to think of those things that you haven't got. You're too busy trying to get things together.
Alison, is there anything that you believe should be more discussed in terms of therapy, either amongst us therapists or with potential clients?
Just the notion, or my own experience, that in these days there's so much division going on. You know, are you this, are you that? What do you believe in? What's your opinion on this and that? No, I'm in this camp, I'm in that camp. And that we should be doing things, or we shouldn't be doing things, or we should say it like this and no, you can't say that. I really truly believe that psychotherapy can actually be one of the most radical actions you can give to the world. Yeah, in terms of how do you know what is true? Well, you know, on the screens, online, there's so much around what is true and what isn't true. How can we tell, especially with all the technology around? You know, you could get a photo of, say, Bing Crosby from black and white film and you can put it into the computer and it can become a new film saying new things, that person, you know, like, how can we tell that you know, what is true, you know? And I suppose since 2020, that's what has been really big in my life. How can I tell what's true, you know?
Why since that time? Why
since that time? Because so much was going down in 2020, like all the news, everything, you know. And I suppose the word misinformation or disinformation came into the vernacular around 2020, you know. And what I was talking about, this division, one person, you know, one set of people believe this, and other, you know, the divisiveness in society. I think, you know, there's so much divisiveness now in how we think about things and what we're into and what we're not into, you know. what we go along with, what we don't, you know. How can we tell what is true, you know, the truth? And I think that psychotherapy has a really important role to play in this, because if we're all stuck up in our heads, which is sometimes we need it, you know, but there's so much more in us that can sense things. How do we know what's right for us? How do we know that we agree with something and yes, this fits with me and I'm going to go along in this way? To think for ourselves, basically, to be able to consult ourselves. How do we know that? How do we know that something accords with us? And I think that's probably one of the biggest gifts that psychotherapy can give the world right now. Because I think, to put it bluntly, like I think we are in World War III, but it's a spiritual one and it's all happening in here, in the mental realms. So it's absolutely vital that we start to get to know ourselves, you know, in deeper ways, so that we can tell for ourselves what's right for us and not just be following things that, how do we know that it's right for us, you know? So I think that psychotherapy is absolutely a very powerful force in this world.
Could you outline a bit more about the war in one's head?
Well, I mean, getting back to the inner critic, you know, and all these like 75,000 plus thoughts that we have during the day, you know, and, you know, how do we choose which thoughts we're going to entertain, which ones that we agree with, you know? I mean, you can tell by my language that I'm not identified with my thinking. You know, if I have a thought, I don't necessarily think I've thought that thought, you know. So I question my thoughts. I question everything since 2020. Is this me? Do I want to go along with this? Does this feel right? You know, and I do believe it's a bodily knowing. You know, if something feels right for me, I can feel the difference in my body. So that's what's guiding me, is my own internal compass. And it's not me in isolation. I'm not an island. Obviously, I'm in this world, in the universe as well. So it's the whole thing. But how am I... There's that word from Rumi. It's the ancient ship compass. It's called astrolabe. How you know,
how am I navigating?
Yeah, how am I navigating all, you know, the tides and the currents? And we've got so much information coming at us through the mental realm, you know, through the screens. It's overwhelming. I find it overwhelming, and I feel that I can have a break from it a lot of the time, you know, by my meditation and my practice. And I get really tired of it, you know, the amount of information, you know. It's mentally exhausting, I find, you know. So how are we going to pick our way through all this that's coming at us, you know, and all the different people that stand to make a living out of us by our attention? Yeah, how are we going to do what we need to do, you know, but that's for the greater good as well, if you feel the urge to give something back.
Do you have any advice for therapists who are just starting out?
I'd say the way the profession is going now, it's going towards more academic training. I would say the absolute vital necessity that you need to attend to is your own work. You know, there's some brilliant people out there, you know, who are highly intelligent, you know, can know from here a lot of things, you know, and talk the talk as well, but you've got to be able to walk it as well. And I say that humbly, you know, I struggle to walk it too. We need to know ourselves. You have to do your personal work. And this profession is being in the process of being regulated right now. And there's a lot of toing and froing on that, and the government is trying to dilute that side of things, and it won't serve clients well. You've got to be able to sit with a client in places, you know, if you haven't been in a similar place, you won't be able to support them. You know, you can tell them all the things to do and everything, but it won't be systemic, deep change. It won't be lasting, transformational change. And yeah, people can come for brief solution-focused therapy, and it might keep them going and everything, you know, but that's where I work, is for deep transformational change. Yeah, and you need to be able to know yourself before you can sit with another person. It's absolutely essential, otherwise you can get in a lot of mess.
Maybe could you expand on this, because you're saying that people need to do the work and know themselves. How could it affect the client if they don't do that?
I mean, so talking, say, from my own experience of codependency, why does someone want to become a therapist? And if they haven't looked at their own stuff first, they can just be projecting all that onto the client and then helping the client. So living vicariously, you know, and not quite aware of what they're doing. You know, they might be coming from a nice place, you know, and a good place. You know, I'm helping people, but essentially a lot of it is still their own stuff. So they won't be seeing the client as clearly as they could be seeing. You know, so if you've got unfinished business, that's the lens you're looking through onto the world. And so essentially you're just, it's like you're trying your best to sort things out, but you're not actually hitting the mark, because this is where it needs to happen first.
Yeah.
And so you can see more clearly that the client is separate from you.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's enmeshment and codependency. And I talk from experience here.
Maybe could you explain what codependency means in this way?
Living your life through another person. Yeah. So fixating on another person, not really owning your own feelings, you might not even be aware of your own feelings, but you feel aware of other people's feelings. And apparently you can only feel your own feelings, but we think it's coming from the other person. So it's disowning yourself in some way or some aspect of yourself and seeing it, projecting it onto someone else, and totally fixating on that person. So there's no me and you. It's just you or me. There's no me and you. There's no like two separate people. So how can you come into, you know, a lovely, fulfilling contact if you're already sort of like you don't know where you stop and another person begins, and vice versa. Yeah, and I suppose, you know, from another modality, you'd have like child, parent, adult.
Yes.
Yeah, so it could be child, parent, the codependency. This is just coming to me right now. Yeah. So adult to adult is this: I'm a separate person from you. I'm able to recognise myself and what I'm feeling more or less in the present moment, and I'm separate from you, and this is how I am, and you're treating the other person like they are an adult too. You know, so you're not rescuing anybody, you're not a victim waiting for someone to rescue you. You know, it's adult to adult, eye to eye. We're both responsible for each other. I mean, myself, you know, each person responsible for themselves. And so boundaried, I suppose that's what boundaries are. It's a big subject, boundaries, and I'd say that's key. It's key in living a happy life. Yeah, and getting your needs met, you know. And being able to allow other people to get their needs met, to recognise other people too. Yeah. To live like balanced relationships where there's a reciprocity, there's a backwards and forwards. It's like that, you know, that song Nature Boy?
I don't.
Nat King Cole.
No, like, maybe if I heard a song.
It was my grandmother's favourite. Like,
okay.
Yeah. So Nature Boy. It was the greatest thing you'll ever learn is how to love and be loved in return. So it's like the balance, you know. So that's the opposite of codependency. That balance of giving and receiving.
Since you graduated and started working with clients, how did your sense of self evolve?
Being humbled by the work is a regular thing.
Being humbled.
Yeah, I mean, we all have egos, you know, and I think we're in such a privileged position to be a psychotherapist with a client. It's a lot of responsibility, and I always have to watch my ego, because a lot of people would put a lot of power onto you. Oh, she knows everything about me, or she, you know, she's got all these superpowers or whatever. Do you know what I mean? She can see right through me or whatever, you know. And I don't. You know, yeah, I can say things that are on the ball and everything, and I do have a heightened sense of awareness, but I don't know just because I see something, you know. When the work goes well, my ego can plump me up a bit and I think, oh, I'm brilliant, I'm the bee's knees and everything, you know, and then something will happen in my personal life and I'll have to go to my own therapy, you know, and get support for myself, you know, and that keeps me really fresh and it keeps me close to clients when they're coming in a hard place. You know, that distance isn't there. I'm not like all superior, you know. So I think that humbling experience it can be a bit painful at times because, you know, my ego can take me to places, you know, because of all this sort of imbalance, the power imbalance, you know. But I am very grateful when I've had that humbling experience and I'm just on the ground with everybody else. And that's being really honest right now. And just to show, you know, that as a therapist, I really value my own therapy. You know, it's absolutely vital.
So since you had that growth after the course and with your clients and with your supervisor and with your therapist, what qualities do you like about yourself?
I like my my willingness to suffer discomfort in the service of truth or being real in the encounter. Yeah, what I like about myself is my courage. Yeah, I really like my courage in showing up and being real because I don't think it's beneficial, you know, to not be real with clients. So some things I can sense might be a bit risky to say, but if I don't ever risk truth with a client, then sometimes we just play it safe and we won't get anywhere, you know. So I think risk is necessary in the work, and it's gauged and it's assessed risk. But I feel, I really appreciate my courage in showing up and being real with a client. I really like my capacity to be very sensitive with a client that's scared and anxious. Yeah, and to really fine-tune the work down to something which is supportive enough and still a bit challenging, you know, to really break it down. So that, always grading the work between support and challenge. Because, you know, if there's too much support, then nothing will change. And if there's too much challenge, then the client's overwhelmed and they're out the door, you know. So, and no work gets done then either, you know. So always grading that. And I really, I appreciate my hard work actually in discerning that. I mean, I don't take all my clients home with me, but if something doesn't quite fit for me, you know, I just sit with it a bit until clarity comes, you know. Yeah, what else do I appreciate about myself? The amount of work I've done on myself, to be honest. I've been at this for years now, you know, personal development. And I suppose at 59 now, I feel that I'm coming into my elder status, and touches my heart when young people come in and I look back and I can feel that I'm helping, I'm of use to them. My experiences, as hard as they've been in my life, are actually helping people now who are in a similar place. So it's wonderful, you know, it really is a privilege and a gift to be able to keep recycling, you know, my life experiences in a way that people can get support from, you know, that is doing good in the world, you know. So I always wanted to do something fulfilling, and I'm just so blessed that I've found a job with this.
And I can see your smile when you say that, that you are feeling it here.
Yeah, very much so, yeah. Yeah, love my work.
And when you were speaking about your courage and risk-taking, you taking this interview is part of it.
Oh, totally, yeah. I mean, we have this lamp here. And as soon as I saw that lamp, I said, oh, that reminds me of a concept, you know, of a hermit with a stick in the dark with a lamp, you know. And, you know, I've been that hermit for years. You know, the solitude has really challenged me and influenced me in my life, you know. So it's wonderful to feel that this solitude that I didn't necessarily choose at times, you know, is benefiting people now, because I've had the space to really find out about me and how I think about things, you know, and distill things down. So it's big for me being in the lights, doing this. I would usually be, away on my own in the middle of nature somewhere, So coming out and showing myself here in this way, it's taken a lot of courage, a lot of faith in just showing up and saying yes to life. It was on my path, so okay, gulp, yes.
Yeah. And I feel that you are trusting me with the result that it's hopefully going to be what you envisioned or what you're hoping for.
Yeah. And, I really appreciate that, you're another psychotherapist, so your questions, very supportive questions, and you have a lovely way with you. So, I'm feeling relaxed in your presence to be able to do this. I've been interviewed before for Facebook, and the man was lovely and I liked him and he was doing his best, but there was no rapport because he wasn't coming from that experience, So, I really feel a connection with you and the questions and the respect and everything. It's just, you got a lovely vibe. Yeah.
Thank you. And especially for the trust, because I know, for you driving here is almost 3 hours driving just here and back, right? So I really appreciate your time for this.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Like I say, I like to say yes to life. If something is right in front of me and it's inviting me, no matter if I'm feeling anxious about it, okay, yeah, let's go for it. Life is short.
Because even for me, most of the time, it's still anxious for me to get somebody and interview them, unless I know them, like my classmates or somebody, But I can't imagine what it might be for somebody who, never seen me before. It's maybe not one of those regular therapy things that happen to therapists.
Yeah, and yet when we see clients,
True.
regularly in that place of in an intimate setting with someone I don't know and they don't know me.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the aspect of it that, I'm just learning to weather the discomfort and just trust. And really it's like my inner critic would be like, I'm feeling anxious. It'd be like beating me up for being anxious, And I've got this, this other voice now that's like talking to me, not the inner critic. I'm not having a debate. I'm like, no, it's okay. Like, you're okay. It's just a feeling, that'll pass. Just do it.
Yeah. Have your boundaries or self-care practices changed since you started working with clients?
Yes, I've really had to up my self-care. And especially for new therapists starting out. The bit that I read in the IHIP newsletter, from another well-seasoned psychotherapist was your self-care needs to be up there with client care. So that was very helpful for me. Yeah, I'm very aware of that ratio. Have I got something to give? Have I got energy to give?
How would you explain it? How would you explain the kind of rationale? Why would your self-care need to be up there with your client care?
It's when whatever you give attention to takes energy. Energy flows where awareness goes. In the past, when I was more codependent, the ratio of my energy attention, would be probably 80%, maybe not even 20% here. I need to keep flipping that around, and regularly giving myself lots of attention. And then that gives me energy then when I do that. I give a lot, basically. I give a lot sitting with the client. And it's not my natural way that I've learned to be in the world. Uh-huh. So I regularly have to remind myself, when I'm getting a bit tired, I need to bring it back to me. I need to bring it back to me.
So I have to nurture myself since I'm nurturing somebody else.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And you think that maybe this is what some new therapists might be lacking or not realizing?
Yeah, and so much that you've got to think about when you're a new therapist, trying to be the best therapist you can be and trying to get it all right, and then your own self-care might take a bit of a hit, trying to be good. I know now that maturing in the work now, it's about 11 years I've been seeing clients now, that I sit back more, and I want to sit back even more. I want to let the river of the work, carry us, basically. realising how I was when I was a young therapist starting out was like that, it's like too much hands-on, and now it's just easing back a bit, ease back, still stay present, but just allow the work more. And this is just it's an ongoing practice in my life as well.
Is there something you feel people might find insightful, helpful, or encouraging about therapy?
Yes, I endeavour to offer the kind of therapy where people feel safe, that they can say whatever they need to say, and that human experience is normalised. That whatever we're feeling, there's some kind of reason for it. Not that we're going to be casting around trying to find the reason particularly. That can come in and of itself. But that I really don't like the word disorder. And it's, it's being ramped up even more in the world. Let's just cut all the negative judgment. We're human beings in our wondrousness and in our struggles and our challenges as well, Anything that anybody's feeling, is valid. It's all valid. And, my inner critic, and I know lots of other people's inner critics, can just really put us down when we are down, So there's something, if there's something that people have been feeling that they feel is too shameful, or, they feel awful about for being this way or having this experience, and this inner critic is trying to drill you down on it, it's not going to be like that from my side. I endeavour to hold a safe space. We all need safe spaces. We need safe people we can just be totally ourselves with. And even things that maybe you've never told anybody else before. I have such compassion for people because it's been a long time since I was in that place. And believe me, it took me to some really tough places. Offloading that can be like such a big thing, to be able to do that with someone that you trust, and just to say you need to trust them. Don't jump over yourself and spit it all out there. Make sure that you're consulting yourself and you do feel safe. But I think, there's so much going on in the world these days. These are really, really hard times. I think the energy and what is happening, it's just we've never experienced before, and you could probably say that about the past too. But regarding technology and everything that's happening in the world, there's so much flux. I think we're not going to get anywhere unless we can find safe places where we can be and be affirmed, and we can grow into the beautiful people that we really are. This light that we have in us.
Alison, where can people find you if they want to start working with you? Okay,
I have a small online presence. I'm not on Facebook or anything. I tried to do that, but I just can't. So where I trained, the Gestalt Institute of Ireland, if you go to their website, I'll be on the list of therapists in their directory. I'm also on IHIP, list of directory. That's IAHIP. I'm on there. I'm on ICP directory. I'm on Psychology Today. So if you just type in my name, you'll see where to find me. I'm based in East Clare. I see people in person in East Clare. And I do work online as well. So just look me up online and you'll find my my website's pending. It's in the process, and hopefully Zintu will go on it as well. So my email and my phone number are on there as well.
Listen, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, and thank you, Pavel. That's it.
Everything is recorded.
Well done. Yeah.
It's lovely. It's just lovely. I do also feel the connection with you.
Yeah,
I
lovely.
do.
Thank you. It's good to hear.
Yeah.